Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Today I am back in the studio. I've got a little project that I think is going to be super cool, and let me kind of tell you how I came about this idea. A lot of times on the weekends I go grocery shopping with my wife. If nothing else, it is a good way to just... Okay. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? My name is Todd Coons. Welcome back to the channel. Today I am back in my studio, which is one of my favorite places to do photographs. And I got a little project for myself, but let me kind of go back and tell you how I came about this idea. And, I'm really excited about this one. This one should be fun. Hopefully it won't be too crazy challenging. We can pull it off, but it should be somewhat challenging. But let me tell you, I always go shopping with my wife on the weekends. I go grocery shopping with her, and one of my biggest reasons for doing that is just to spend a little bit of time with my wife. I don't really enjoy grocery shopping, but I go and I push the cart for her, and I get to spend a little bit of time with her. And one of the places we go is a grocery store called Publix, and Publix has some of the greatest grocery store advertising. Their newspaper ads are great, but they also have these big, huge prints that they hang from the ceiling in the aisles of the store. And every, 3 or 4 months they change them out, and usually they're really pretty good. Well, right now they've got some images hanging in their store right now, and I'll show them to you here. And they kind of got me thinking, I want to do some shots sort of like that. And if you notice, they're all kind of stacked up, and I've been spending the last few days since I've seen them thinking about how am I going to do it. I think one of the easy ways to do it would just be to shoot every item individually, cut them out, piece them in there, and then create cast shadows in Photoshop. However, I think I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to shoot them on a live background because I want the real shadows to be there. And if you notice in the images, some of the items cast shadows onto the other items. So I'm going to try to incorporate that as well. But I'm not going to do the whole thing in one shot. I am going to shoot them individually to an extent, but I'm going to make sure that the right shadows are on top of the right items, and then we'll mix and match and do some Photoshop work as well. But I've got 3 shots that I'm going to do. I compiled the groups of items for the 3 different shots. We're going to spend the rest of the afternoon photographing those, and then probably tomorrow morning we'll do all of the Photoshop work, and we'll put these things together and hopefully come up with 3 really great portfolio pieces. I think in reality this is not going to be as easy as if I was laying everything out flat, because some things just don't like to sit. This, for instance, this whisk, which I'd like it to be the bottom item because it casts this great shadow. The problem is it keeps wanting to fall. And I've got these orange clamps which I'm putting white paper around because the orange will cast reflections in the chrome, and so there's a lot to it, but we can take our time and shoot these things correctly, I think it should work. But it's a little tricky because I'm trying to get them to stand up, but I really don't want to cut something like this off the background. This would be a nightmare to cut out. Could be done, but I think if we take our time and do it right in the camera, it will look better, but it will also be a little bit easier. So that's where I'm at. So guys, I think the first shot is going to be the hardest one. Once I get everything set up, get the lighting the way I like it, get everything kind of angles, the shadows, get everything right, then I can just rattle through all the images for the most part. But this first one's a little bit of a challenge. I've actually ended up moving the table away from the background because that softbox right back there, that softbox right there is lighting the background. That parabolic reflector with the diffusion panel is lighting the subject. And unfortunately, the softbox and the light bouncing off the white seamless was killing my shadows. And I like the shadows. That's one of the reasons why I was trying to do this live, was to get those cool shadows. I ended up having to move the table away from that background so that the light bouncing off the seamless wasn't contaminating the set quite as much. And it's better. Let me show you where I'm at. Again, here's my set. It's pretty simple. Simple parabolic, lighting it, and then of course the softbox on the seamless, and then this is where we're at so far. I don't think it's too bad. The shadows are there. They're not quite as crazy good as I thought they would be. They're not as dark as I would maybe want them. But of course we'll cut that paper towel off of there. We'll take one shot of just the background with nothing on it as a reference so I can fill things in. I might actually tape that front where the paper's coming up. I might tape that down. Other than that, I'm going to bring it into the computer, and I think it's pretty darn close. And once we get that set and we like it, we will rattle through all the products. So those orange clamps that I'm using to prop things up, those things are super strong, and one of them just bit me. So I have a little studio injury. So we're gonna get a Band-Aid before I start bleeding all over everything. I actually was on a photo shoot years and years ago where we were photographing models, and they used those same clamps to clamp down clothes so that the clothes fit just right. And one of the clothing stylists actually got this side of one of the models, like got her right kind of in above her hip, and I've never seen anybody jump that far before, but now I know why. That really hurts. And then the other thing I decided is that my salt shaker probably should have some salt in it, so I'm going to put some salt in it, reshoot it, keep going. Okay guys, I think I'm done shooting, and I think if you look here, the ones I marked red, there are 22 photographs, and I will bang through them real quick for you guys. 22 different photographs that I think are the winners that I will need to piece together. 3 of them are actually individual matchsticks. There's 1, 2, 3. So if you don't take the matchsticks, I have, what, 19. I'm going to do all the Photoshop work tomorrow when I'm fresh and have a new eyes. You know, sometimes, like I said before, it's nice to kind of step away from it and come back to it. I am going to leave the setup. I'm going to leave everything right where it was before, because if for any reason I need to reshoot something or figure I need a different item because one of the ones I shot today wasn't working, it'll all be set. The lights will be in the exact same place, and once I know I've got what I want, then I can break all this down. But I'm going to leave it for now. And as far as today goes, I think that was super successful. So I'm excited to put all this together and come up with some neat finished pieces that will go in my portfolio. If nothing else, they'll look great on social media. And if nothing else, it was a fun project here in the studio. So I will see you tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It is day 3 of my little project. A project that shouldn't take 3 days, but the first day I spent about a half day shooting all the items. The second day was yesterday. I did most of the Photoshop work, but then I went and spent a good chunk of the day teaching my son how to drive a stick shift, which important life skill. I needed to do it. I should have done it a long time ago, but we spent part of the day doing that yesterday, so I didn't spend all my time doing the Photoshop work. Plus, after showing my wife these images, she made a comment that I totally agree with. She didn't like the red colander in the kitchen photograph. The only reason I chose that was because I was trying to throw in a little bit of color. Most of these shots are, or most of the items in these shots don't have a lot of color to them. So I was trying to pick something that had some color, but it didn't really match everything else because everything else is old and vintage and antique. And the kitchen one doesn't really have that feel. So I've switched up the colander. I'm going to reshoot it. Like I said, I left the set up. All the lights are in the exact same place, so it's going to be a real simple switch out. I've got an old colander. It'll be basically the same as far as just flopping it out, but it'll be old. It doesn't have any color to it, but I think it'll match the series a whole lot better. So after a week of messing around with this project, I think I'm finally done. I think I put about 4 days into it. And it really didn't take that long to do it. I've just done a whole bunch of other things this week. I actually went and saw my oldest son yesterday, spent most of the day with him. So I've come in today, I think this is the 4th day I've been working on this. Did the last little bit of Photoshop work to it. I added some shadows, did a little bit of tweaking. I think the shadows really kind of pulled everything together. And by and large, I think I'm really happy with the way this worked out. They're not as colorful and bright as the ones at Publix because there just wasn't as much color to the things that I chose. But I think by and large that all 3 of the images are kind of the same in terms of, vintage items, not a lot of color to them. So I think the 3 of them go together really well. And overall, I'm happy. Now, the more I did this project as far as putting everything together and the shooting and the Photoshop work, and as I look at the Publix ads, I really think they probably did those in one shot. Maybe 2 or 3 shots, but by and large, I think there was a core initial shot. And being that it was food, they could probably use wooden skewers or fishing line or whatever and stick things together and get most of it into the shot in one image, and then probably Photoshop those skewers out and the strings or whatever was holding everything together. But I think they did it in one shot. I could be wrong about that. I obviously did everything individually and then pieced it together later, which worked really well, but there was a lot more work to it as far as the post-production. Now, a little bit more information about what I did here. I shot everything from the same distance. Camera distance to the subject was the same on every single item. So therefore, when I brought them into the computer, they were all the correct size. So in relationship to each other, as long as I didn't resize one item without resizing them all, I would maintain the proportions. Now, I did end up tweaking that a little bit just for the sake of composition, but I did initially shoot them all the same so that I could keep them the same size. I don't know that you could really tell without knowing what the original items were to say, hey, that looks too big or too small. I also want to tell you guys that these shots came straight out of the camera. I didn't change color, contrast, anything, straight out of the camera. I'll be honest with you, I am super impressed with the X-T4. And I've said this before, if you get the lighting correct and you get your exposure right, straight out of the camera is pretty good. But the Fuji colors, I shot raw. Really super impressed with that. Again, I didn't do anything to the images other than bring them in. I didn't even sharpen them. So yeah, they're just straight out of the camera. Now, as far as the lighting is concerned, I did show you guys already the little setup, but I don't normally shoot product like that with a harsh light. I mean, I've done a little bit more of it recently, but typically I got a softbox on my main light. This time I just had a direct parabolic and a diffusion panel over that, so the shadows were pretty harsh and directional, but I really liked it. I thought it turned out pretty good. So guys, let me know what you think of these images and the whole project overall. Let me know if you think there are things I should have done differently or things you liked. If you got questions about something that I did that I didn't already answer, let me know that too. I'd love to hear your comments. Give me a thumbs up if you would. Thank you so much for subscribing. I will see you guys in the next video very, very soon.